start recording here. So I'm going to. Oops. That's better. Okay. So identities and brand identities. A little bit of breaking up what identities can include. So an example here of the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross is what we refer to as the logo type because it's a logo made up of typography. The cross on the left-hand side is considered more of a pictorial word mark. And together this forms the brand signature. And so I'll dissect a little bit of how your brand can be communicated and some of the formats that are used. So a word mark, as it sort of describes, it's the name of your company. It's an acronym. It can be a product name, but it's designed to convey, the brand attitude and the positioning. So these are legible. They're easy. They are probably the go-to. These are the ones that you want to sort of identify as your first strategy, and they need to be distinctive, right? So it's more than just typing your name in Helvetica and going done, right? It needs to be pushed further. It needs to be distinctive. So like the D in Disney, some examples of where typography and simple naming, but tweaking it and adding a little bit of your own personality. Letter marks. So these are distinctive graphical focal points for your brands. And of course, they are alongside the word mark of the actual Tesla, right? But it's a distinct, a unique way to put your brand forward. It also is really nice when you get into mobile and that identity can just go in the top left-hand corner. It's used a lot in that area. So this is Tesla. This is the High Line. If anyone's been to New York, this is the simple identity. Pictorial is often used to create, literal or recognizable images, right? So it's a way to translate sometimes complex ideas or just give forward like a simpler form, right? And it's sometimes difficult to create that simple form, but it gives a lot of powerful imagery and can be really, really powerful. Abstract mark. And this can tie into companies that have multiple platforms, like an umbrella company. So you can see there's a branding agency, there's an identity agency, and together they form one. So this is a little bit more complex and used within larger companies when they have numerous areas, but it's an approach that can be taken. Emblems. These are the trademarks, right? The shape that are directly connected to the name of the organization. And Volkswagen pivoted to simplify their emblem because they're going more into the digital age. And this one's fun. It's called the dynamic mark. And so this is where IBM had some fun, where IBM Watson has multiple facets and goes into a lot of different industries. And so they needed to create a set of icons for their different departments. And so that's the left-hand side, that's IBM Watson's project. And on the right-hand side, this is OCAD University, where the square in the top right-hand corner allows each department, again, to place their own individual unique element. So, whether it's the art department or the geography department, you're allowed to place that in. So it's a really dynamic way and powerful way to bring brands that have different facets and different departments together. Characters. You can create fun characters, in the branding world. These are often stars of advertising agencies, right? They're cultural icons. I don't know did Pillsbury come into Australia? Pillsbury Doughboy. It's a really iconic old one. where you poke him in the belly, and he laughed. The gecko character, but they can form like really powerful, recognizable voices and jingles that are associated. So let's talk about how you put yourself forward. Let's talk about what works and what doesn't. And what's needed is a little bit of customization, tweaking, a little bit of wit, right? So taking typography and adding your personal elements to it, right? So these are examples of where, oh, it's so simple, but when you look at it, you go, oh, how did they do that, right? So it's through ideation. It's really through trying a version of your name, if you want to go that route, or you can come up with your own sort of studio name or business name, and creating some simple little typography tweaks. So making the type exaggerated, maybe stretched, italicizing it, framing it in a different way. It's all about ideation. The examples I'm using here are very simple, but they, again, have that subtle, and again, you can use black and white, the subtle little tweaks of typography. And the key is to iterate, iterate, iterate. So copy your name and make as many versions of it as possible. So this is where we're going to use the adjectives from your exercise that you've done. And I'd like you to navigate to this website right here. And I'll do the same. And I'll share my screen. We're going to use artificial intelligence. I'm going to air quote that, artificial intelligence. We're going to create some versions of your logo. And Eleni, you're gonna be my demo. Okay. So I'm just going to use your first name. I'm not going to bother with the slogan. Here's your adjectives. Give me some of your words. Some of your keywords here.
Artistic, trustworthy.
What was the other one?
Progressive.
Yep.
Dynamic.
Dynamic. Next, another one.
Trustworthy.
That's enough. Okay. Those adjectives that you have just identified, start putting them into this engine. And let's see what, so color is not important at this point, but is there anyone here that you gravitate to here, Lenny?
Simple or high contrast?
Simple, beautiful. Okay. Let's look at what the computer, let's see what they say here. Okay. So let's flick through some of these and purely look at these as just ideas, as stepping points, right? So you can take the A, make it a triangle. Okay, maybe the artistic element, that's where they've come in here. Okay, a little bit more fluid. Uppercase doesn't work as well. Very simple. Okay. You get the idea. We're using a particular tool. We're taking adjectives that we've done from that exercise. We're putting it into a machine for ideation generation, right? This is purely just to capture ideas. It's like, oh, okay, I can create something from this A, or I can take this E and stretch it. It's purely just looking at a tool and exercise to help with ideation process, right? So it's a fun way to grab a mood board, a starting point, how you take something and generate from the personality of your brand and move it into an identity. So that is that. So that's an exercise for you. And now I've lost my slides. So everyone go through that exercise right now. Just jump on there, throw your adjectives, some of the top 5. You might want to do this top 10. You could probably do start with the top 5 and put that in.
I actually got one that I really like.
Oh yeah? Okay. Put it aside. Go and keep digging. It's a jumping off point. And start to see what happens.
I got my actual exact font that I ideated and created for my own website. So it's pretty good. So
you're on the right track. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to wrap up just as we're getting to that time.
BU, did you do your name or just your initials?
Just initials.
Yeah.
And so that's all part of the ideation process is, do you want to do your full name? Do you want to do initials? Do you want to stack your name? Do you want to have it side by side? Make it modular, right? So for you, BU, you could have your full name, but then when you go down a mobile, it's your acronyms, your first and last name, right? So that's part of the process of where is it going? Is it going on a website? How does it look, right, on desktop? And then when I get to mobile, what does it look like? That's all. It's part of that process as well. Start with black and white. Don't worry about color. The important piece to this is volume. Create as many as you can and then throw them on a board and go, yep, I like that. Next, let's move on to the next idea, right? Okay, I like that. You can go through that, the affinity mapping process of, okay, I really like elements of this. I really like elements of this. And you start to narrow down maybe a hybrid. It's difficult to get to a very simple approach, but this exercise is more just about that ideation process. So I'm just going to wrap things up here. So I started from the very beginning of just having a conversation of how do you define who you are, answering the why as one of the key pieces of that brand personality, taking those adjectives of who you are and filtering that up to something you can talk to as far as the voice that's going to put the message that you're going to put out there. So brands can be represented and brand marks can be represented in different forms. The simplest approach would be to do that word mark, but understand that you might have a word mark with a pictorial mark, an element that simplifies, and that could be your acronym. Start with simple typographic approaches and ideate. It's really the key here. As sort of junior designers that, you're just putting yourself out there. Start with black and white and see where you go and have some fun. So this, yeah, of course, this is a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's fine. And hopefully it's a launching pad, launching point to further discuss. And we have a little bit of time if I want to go over some questions and things to reflect on.
Sorry, Michael, I'm gonna have to leave because I really want to make a coffee and be ready at 9:30.
Totally understand. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I take a shower. I'm freezing.
Okay. Thanks again for from joining me for this. Hopefully it was informative. And good luck with your coding in a day.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, yeah, we've all got to run, I think.
I
I'm
know.
not sure.
I know.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Michael.
Bye.
Thank you.